This is Talk of Our Times, number 52. Can you believe that? 52 times we have come together. Not all of them have been an hour long, but I would say most of them have been, pretty close to an hour. Last week was 45 minutes. And the week before that, which was the pre-Mother's Day show, I was lit. And meaning lit up, excited. And last weekend I was really excited. And this weekend I'm really, really excited. Last weekend I was excited because I thought I was going to have to do the show from a hotel room after high-speed driving to Laughlin, doing a show for very little pay because I committed to it when I thought the circumstances were different. And here's what's happened to me. And I want to talk about the micro. It's not about me. Hi, Tom Wilson. It's about us. It's about the collective us. And us is every individual being responsible for their own hustle. If there's one thing that we learned during COVID, it's that, to some degree, we can count on, depending on where you live, the government to shut us down or make us wear masks or not make us wear masks. Hey, Nebraska, we can count on them to govern us, to give us rules, to tell us what to do or not to do. I still am baffled by the fact that, there's always debates in the House of Representatives, the Senate, the floor, the governing bodies about funding, public school or hot lunches or after school programs, but somehow we've found, trillions of dollars to subsidize, for unemployment or, the longer this whole situation went on, the more I just kept saying, hi, Susie Alvarez, in my mind, it's all Bitcoin. And I'd rather say it's all Bitcoin than say it's all bullshit, because that's what it really feels like sometimes. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, me personally, I'm a performer, I'm an artist, I'm a comedian. I have been an entrepreneur for 31 years. May 31st, 1990 will be the 31st anniversary of me open micing. And prior to me open micing, I already sold medical malpractice insurance on a commission basis only. So even my last day job wasn't a day job. I was on 100% commission. All I had was the right to sell a professional liability trust, medical malpractice to physicians. So since 1988, 25 going on 26, I have not had, technically a job where I had benefits and health care. And, I worked on radio in these last 17 years, almost 18, 2003. I got hired for my first radio gig, but I was an independent contractor hired by the station so that I didn't have, all of the benefits of being an employee, which is fine. I preferred being an LLC. The point I'm making is that having my hustle, side, front, back hustle, be how I earn a living is not new to me at all. And even in my circumstance, as a comedian, as an independent contractor, yes, somebody just mentioned KFI. Yes, at KFI, I was an independent contractor. I just got shift pay. I got paid per shift that I was on the air. I was responsible for all my own everything, healthcare, taxes. Oh, and by the way, it was a union shop. So even though I worked the minimal and got paid the minimal, I still had to pay SAG-AFTRA dues. So there you have it. And I'm saying this because recently a couple of things came to light that could have been disheartening if I were another human being. Lucky for me, I'm not. This is one of my favorite cups. It's the Masked Mouse. It's a mouse wearing a mask. I love this cup. And I'm not drinking Diet Cherry Coke tonight. I actually have a homemade cappuccino in my attempt to be a little more frugal and make my own caps. Plus, I can control the oat milk. And it's quite delicious. So I found out a couple of things. Number one, I found out that a company that I recorded CDs for called Uproar, I recorded 2 CDs with them, one in 1998 and one in 2002. They sold the rights to those CDs, which they had no right to SiriusXM. I was getting fan mail as early as 2005 from people saying, I just heard you on XM. SiriusXM and XM hadn't even merged. Well, a few years later, there was a class action suit by a bunch of comedians. I did not join in. I'm not a litigious person. It's just bad juju. I don't sue if I don't have to. And the then owner of Uproar, to be honest, I don't know if he's still with us. He gave me product in lieu of cash. He said, since you didn't sue, I'm going to make it right. I'm just going to give you X amount of product. So I had a storage closet full of CDs. I hadn't given it much thought until I started getting fan mail again saying, oh my goodness, I just found you on YouTube. And I thought it was this show. They're like, you're hilarious. The thing you said about porn or pubic hairs, or, well, they're divided up into very specific topics because of the titles of the tracks. And what ended up happening was that Uproar cut all the tracks up, put them on YouTube with just a photograph of me. Now, keep in mind, I signed deals with them before there was even YouTube. And I signed a CD deal, not a video deal. YouTube is a video platform. But by posting the audio with just a photograph of me, these things were getting hundreds of thousands of listens. I don't even want to say views because there was nothing to look at. And I found out that these people, because YouTube can evidently auto-generate based on topic, were getting paid royalties for these hundreds of thousands of listens on CDs that they most likely don't have the right. And it made me very sad to think about the subjugation of artists, of entrepreneurs, of people who are out there being creative or working very hard. It doesn't matter if you're, creating comedy or cleaning carpets. If you have your own business and you're working very hard, it's extremely disheartening to have people feel that they can undercut you or subjugate you or in some way take what is rightfully yours. So I say this because I very nicely sent a letter to the company. Hello, David. There's a lot of the 330s that are letting me know they're on here tonight. And she, not the husband, which leads me to believe the husband may no longer be with us. Hello, David. So nice to see everyone. Said, we don't want any problems. Let me know what we can do to make it right. But here's what makes it right. That people found me. And that her intention was to fix it. And whatever money she did or didn't make, or the company did or didn't make, is water under the bridge. Because I'm missing the gene that makes me think that fighting people over money is an important use of my time. I signed a buyout when I shopped for Showtime. And my 3 Showtime specials have run on Netflix, and now they're on Amazon, which means they were resubmitted by the producer to be on Amazon. So even though you can watch them for free on YouTube, some people don't watch YouTube. Not Skinny, Not Blonde, Snoop Dogg Presents the Bad Girls of Comedy, and the Latin Divas of Comedy are all on Amazon with a 4.5 rating. But you know what? People are finding me that never found me when I was on Showtime, or maybe we're too young. A lot of Gen Zers are finding me. I'm extremely heartened every time I get an email that says, I'm a 22-year-old Latina female, and I just found you. Or I'm a 25-year-old African-American male. I wish my girlfriend understood me the way you seem to understand men. Or your relationship conversations are so real. You see, I cannot help but think that everything happens for a reason. And I've gotten gigs just from people seeing me or hearing me that pay me a lot of money. And I just have to keep moving forward and let it be on whoever feels that they have the right, or, they were first money in, or whatever it is that allows them to justify their behavior. To know, I'm not going to come after you. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to sue you. I'm not going to badmouth you. I'm not going to do any of these things, because everything happened at the time that it needed to happen. And at that time, I couldn't record my own CDs. And at that time, I couldn't create my own videos. And at that time, I did the best I could with what was presented in front of me. And evidently they felt that they did too. Okay. But here's what brings me to tears in a good way. I have a brother, and we've had at different points in our lives a very charged and challenged relationship. Although I'm here to tell you, he was my first great love. You always love your parents because they're your parents. They made you. So it predates speech, and it beats all understanding. There's so many cases of people who, by all accounts, could have tremendous issues with their parents, and do, but love them anyway. My parents are very good people, and I'm blessed, more so than others. My father's no longer with me, but anybody who knows me knows that he's pretty much deified in my mind, even though he was, not perfect. He was flawlessly flawed. He was quite the womanizer, incredibly, just charming in a very beguiling way. And I didn't trust him as far as I could throw him. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a wonderful dad and I didn't adore him. And my mother, who was quite challenging in my younger years, and we get on like a house on fire. But my brother and I, we have gone back and forth. And during COVID, I don't know what happened, but I performed in Miami where he lives, and he came to see me, and we ended up spending some quality time in Miami, reconnecting in some beautiful way. And we both discovered, of course, he's a jazz musician, so I'm not surprised, that of all of our favorite Sirius XM stations, we're both obsessed with 40s Junction. I listen to 40s Junction all the time. Number one, I discovered it during the pandemic. I know I've discussed this with you guys before, but all the music on 40s Junction harkens back to right before World War II or World War II. So it's this global event that was extremely frightening and sort of out of control. And it was bigger than just our country. And it was literally war, of which who knew what was going to happen. I mean, we dropped 2 atomic bombs. And all of the songs, I'll Be Seeing You in All the Old Familiar Places, or Rosie the Riveter, or Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, and then the Ink Spots with the Java Jive, all this old, beautiful music. I Know a Girl from Kalamazoo, all these beautiful, beautiful, fun. And it's funny because it was very upbeat, because that's what they felt they needed for the war effort. None of the songs are dirges. You've got String of Pearls and Moonlight Serenade and Moon Glow by Artie Shaw. And the funny thing about all of this music is that I've listened to it so much that I know it as if I were talking about, Billie Eilish or the Chainsmokers. Like, I know Vaughn Monroe and Gene Krupa and the Savoy Stomp. I know the words, I know the artists, I know the years they came out. And they mean the world to me. For some strange reason, that music takes me to a place where all of this makes sense. Because isn't that what art is supposed to do? Isn't that what art does? Art is a reflection of the times in which it was created. If you want to know what was going on during the Renaissance, look at the art, read the books, look at the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, or back in the old times when it was the Greek plays and the tragedies, and you had Aeschylus, and then you had the philosophers, Socrates and Plato and Aristotle. And all of that all came out of the particular times in which these people lived and what was going on around them. And make no mistake, we are going to have things just like the Roaring Twenties went into the Depression, and the Roaring Twenties, thank you, Liz, and the Roaring Twenties were a response to the end of World War I, which was a hideous event with mustard gas and trench warfare and bayonets. I mean, imagine you don't shoot somebody, you get up close and stab them. You know, that's how, I mean, there was shooting, but ultimately it was trench warfare, over the top, and people running at you with a knife at the end of a stick. It's about as barbaric as it gets. I mean, I listen to 40s Junction and I hear Billie Holiday singing, "Ain't nobody's business if I do." You know, I'm not going to call a coppa if I get beat up by my papa. Ain't nobody's business. I mean, that's incredible. The fact that this incredible blues singer with a heroin addiction, I might add, sang so openly about being okay with being physically abused by a man that supposedly loved her, that she loved. But that was the times. And these are different times. And as I listened to the 40s Junction today, I heard this song. It's an instrumental by an artist named Ben Webster. And the song is called Time After Time. And it's part of the Great American Songbook. Everybody has sung it. I think Frank Sinatra sung it. And the song goes, time after time, I tell myself that I'm so lucky to be loved by you. Or so lucky to be loving you. Depends which chorus. But it's a beautiful song. It's a bone crushing. And I thought of my brother as I heard it, because we both love 40s Junction. And he texted me just right before I went on the air, listening to 40s Junction and thinking of you. See, that's like that MasterCard commercial. That's priceless. I won't allow a few dollars that somebody's earned on my back to take my peace, to take my joy, to keep me from understanding what matters. It's not stuff. That's what you do with dollars. You buy stuff. I have stuff. Look behind me. And I have groceries. And I have everything a girl could want to make her happy. But I can't buy my brother thinking of me with such love when he's listening to 40s Junction in Miami. And I don't know, maybe he was actually listening to Ben Webster too. Could be. These things happen. And as I move forward after this event, I've used this global event. I don't even like the word ghosting. It's a very Gen Z word. Millennials use it too. And it basically means like you dip out on people, that you just like, later. And I have used it, but I have not done it. I haven't ghosted anyone because there's no reason to. The reality is when you change and your vibration changes and you change your frequency, it's just like radio frequency. You don't hear each other because you're in different places. See, that's how misunderstandings happen in the negative. But in the positive, you know, think about maybe in your life, somebody said, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah is my best friend. And you were thinking, I'm your best friend? That's peculiar. You're not my best friend. Well, what difference does it make? I mean, really, what difference does it make? So it's very interesting that as the world opens back up and I get busier and busier, last week I had an obligation and I was driving to Laughlin, and about, I don't know, less than 50 miles in, the booker called and said, I'm a little concerned. Evidently, they were more concerned with everything being run exactly to the second, because they were holding day-long workshops. And I felt bad because I'd committed to it because it was the sober community. They were having a whole giant sober convention. But evidently keeping everything exactly on track was more important than the fact that they were getting an act that was working for, a fifth of what I usually get paid. I was fine with it. I was able to turn around and come home and do the show from home, joyfully, filled with energy, knowing that everything happened exactly the way that it should. And here's another little funny parenthetical aside. And I don't care. I'm being perfectly honest with you guys tonight, because there's some news stories that I'm going to get to. One of them, let me just tell you the headline. World's largest iceberg just broke off an Antarctic ice shelf. A floating mass is bigger than Rhode Island. Okay? It's bigger than Rhode Island and covers an area more than 70 times that of Manhattan. Okay? So it's 1,600 square miles, this thing. It's 1,600 square miles. It's 105 miles long and 15 miles wide. It's a finger-shaped iceberg. And we found out about it because they spotted it from space. The Rhone ice shelf. Like, they actually show it breaking off, Like, see that finger? That's a giant, giant ice shelf. The size of Rhode Island. Guess what? A couple of weeks ago, there was Chinese rocket debris, and they didn't know where it was going to fall. I don't know about you, but nothing happened in my world. Now, I understand that these stories are important to report, and they're a curiosity and an anomaly. But I'm hoping that they don't send you into a panic. I'm a member of Greenpeace. I give $20 a month automatically on my credit card to Greenpeace. Why? Because I like whales, and I like dolphins, and I like knowing what's going on, and I do believe in climate change, 100%. I believe in science, the science of climate change. If you don't want to call it global warming, I understand, because it was quite chilly in Los Angeles today on May 22nd. But there's indisputably been climate change since my childhood. And $20 a month makes me feel good that I'm not contributing against a polar bear being stuck on an ice floe, that I'm contributing for helping the polar bear not be stuck on an ice floe. It's just, when I was in second grade was the first Earth Day. First Earth Day, 1970, which is April 22nd. And I had to memorize a poem. So you do the math that I learned this poem over 50 years ago. And here's the poem. The litter bug drops bits and scraps, papers and peels and bottle caps. He just pretends he does not see the trash can used by you and me. Perhaps what we should really do is throw him in the trash can too. And as I recited the poem from memory, a boy named Alan Gill, who was like the neatest, most OCD child, but because he was cute and charming, he got to be the litter bug. So they painted him with 5 o'clock shadow, and they put him in a baggy shirt and loose trousers with garbage in his shirt. And he walked across the stage throwing stuff out while I recited the poem. And at the very end, when I said, perhaps what we should really do is throw him in the trash can too, 2 other boys lifted him up and put him into a garbage can that was brand new and clean with pillows in the bottom to make sure he didn't get hurt. So, interestingly enough, when I looked at this story, I was like, well, that's super duper interesting that happened. But the Chinese debris hitting the ocean and this breaking off didn't suddenly make water come flying in a tsunami up the beaches of Malibu and drown everybody. I'm not saying that it's not challenging, but I'm also not saying that we're not up for the challenge as a species. And plus, if it's your time to go, it's your time. If that Chinese debris was meant to hit your apartment building, what am I going to tell you? I mean, I've been alive long enough to hear about some pretty freakish deaths. There was actually an artist named Christo, and he created several very, very interesting works of art, including one called Surrounded Islands, that people were very offended by in South Florida. Some people, I wasn't. He basically surrounded these small islands in Biscayne Bay with sheets of plastic so that from an aerial view, they look like pink flowers floating in the bay. But then he had another one that was like this silk fence, this long-running silk fence. And one of the poles came loose and basically impaled a woman because of the wind and the way that these sails were. A woman was actually killed by a work of art done by the artist Christo. She was impaled. What are the chances? Pretty slim. I mean, sometimes I read these articles about freak things and I'm like, if you tried, you couldn't have that happen to you. Or if you tried, you couldn't have avoided that. But somehow, people stay on the right side of the dirt because it's not their time to be on the wrong side of the dirt. It's just the way it works. That finger broke off 70 times the size of Manhattan. We're all here. And that debris fell, and we're all here. And a few months ago, we had some kind of killer hornets. I have not encountered the hornets. I guess they were called murder hornets. I don't know anybody that's seen a murder hornet. I got to be honest with you. I've been alive long enough to remember the killer bees coming up from South America. I don't know anything about what happened to the killer bees. I don't know if they just disbanded or died, or there was only one generation of killer bees. Couldn't tell you. I mean, forget the Mayan calendar of 2012. I'm not entirely certain what we're supposed to do with this information. Y2K. Everything was supposed to go bananas, at the millennium. I remember doing a show on 9999 because they thought that was going to be a problem. It wasn't. Anyway, so as I come out of this, I haven't ghosted anyone. But what I have done is become much more discerning about the gigs I'm going to take. Not the money, the intention. Why am I there? I did 3 great gigs since last time I saw you. But I'm not even sure we discussed last Friday. So let me start there. Last Friday, I did something for the school board of Northern California. And it was called like CALSA, C-A-L-S-A, because it's like some kind of Latino school California Association of Latino School Administrators, maybe. But it was an amazing group of people who were educators. And I did a Zoom show, and they had some contests. They did El Grito, where they gave out gift certificates for the best grito with the like, ay, 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 like that. And the one who won, oh my God, ear shattering. And then they had some dancing, and it was really fun. And then I did comedy, and there was such camaraderie. And their teachers, their administrators, they work really hard, very hard. Very hard, really is an adverb. I can hear my father correcting my English. Guess what? I didn't get paid a lot of money. Guess what? I don't care. That's the beauty of being me. I get to decide. And it was extremely satisfying to see these people. I remember the killer bees from Saturday Night Live too, Tom. But nothing happened. And yeah, with the it was really fun, And so that, was a really great show. And then this week, I got contacted by a woman who books me for other gigs. And she did me a big favor. She did me a solid. She paid me very well. And all I was supposed to do was read the chat on a Zoom, a celebrity Zoom that was for a big corporate client. And the celebrity was a celebrity chef that was teaching people to cook. And her name's Carla Hall. Well, I'd never heard of her because I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I watched Chopped years ago with my niece because she loved Chopped. For some reason, having to figure out how to make a meal out of weird, disparate ingredients was, she loved it. Even though she was like 11 years old, she loved Chopped. But I've never watched like Hell's Kitchen or Top Chef or any of those shows. Just not my jam. Although I do like the Great British Bake Off. I just found that during lockdown. So this chef, Carla Hall, is evidently pretty famous. She's an African-American woman in her 50s with crazy gray hair, unbelievable energy, tremendous attitude. And so, she had no idea that I'm not just like some amateur comedian reading the chat. Like, we met before and we talked for a minute. And as soon as she figured out that I kind of had a little something on the cue ball, because it was a 2-day event, on Thursday, she threw to me right away and we had a lot of fun. And she made buffalo wing sliders. So she got like ground chicken meat and spiced it and fried it. And I actually have the recipes. The client asked me to print them out so I could follow along while I was reading the chat. So I have the buffalo sliders and celery coleslaw, which looked delicious. But it was funny because she kept saying, when she would cook the chicken and show it, she'd say, "There's flavor in the brown." And I said, "Well, I got to tell you, as a Latina woman, I think I'm going to steal that line. I think I'm going to just let people know there's flavor in the brown." Apropos of nothing, I'm just going to say it randomly. So I very much enjoyed myself working with Carla Hall, and we did it yesterday for an hour, and she evidently researched me and was like, "You're a real thing." I'm like, "Evidently, yes, thank you." And we've had a ball, and she's like, "We should do a tour where we have comedy and chefing." And I'm like, "I'm down with that." But you see, on the one hand, the less I care about whether people, pay me properly or give me whatever, props people think they have due them. And the more I just sort of settle into, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Is it going to be fun? Why am I doing it? I mean, when was the last time you asked yourself from your soul, when you were doing something, why am I doing this? And are you doing it out of obligation? Are you doing it because someone expects you to? Are you doing it just because you need the money, but you hate the thought of doing it? On the other side of COVID, I tell people that being alone for a year has been like getting a master's in me. Everything is going to have to pass a whole new battery of tests. Does this work for me now? Maybe it worked for me 14 months ago, but it doesn't work for me now. I had a very charming male friend that we had sort of an on again, off again thing for years. Guess what? During COVID, because he was not the kind of person that was going to be careful and wash his hands and wear a mask, it's more of a party animal. During COVID, we didn't spend a lot of, why even say we spent no time together. I haven't seen him in almost a year. Guess what? He texted me today. And when I saw the text, I was like, I don't see the point. I've become quite different. I don't have the time to, I don't want to say waste, but to misuse. When I go live every single day at 3:30, I've made that commitment. Today was day 420. Tomorrow's 421. 400 shows and 3 weeks. I hit show 400 3 Sundays ago. Tomorrow will be show 421. I've missed 3 days for minor surgery. That's a commitment. Guess what? Something's got to give if I keep that commitment. I'm on show 52 tonight, and I can't even begin to tell you, and I'm not saying it to blow smoke up his duodenum, how much it means to me that if I'm busy writing or running errands, producer Stanton reaches out to me. See, I I have a deal with producer Stanton that he'll be able to collect royalties one day, but guess what? 52 shows in, this is how much producer Stanton has made for all the work that he's. Is Elon Musk big on 420, producer Stanton? Is that like a thing with him? I mean, I heard rumors that he smoked the Mary Jane, at least on the Joe Rogan show. I mean, I know that much. I know that's what 420 is. I don't even know why. I know April 20th is allegedly Hitler's birthday too, which is a little bizarro. Yay for the memes. Okay. So, producer Stanton is dedicated, and that means so much to me. Like, all right, so somebody else have some sort of auto-generated BS YouTube channel. All right, we're going to figure it out. Who knows? Maybe if you can't beat them, join them. Maybe I'm just going to take all of their stuff and put it on my page because I can, and they can't stop me. We'll figure it out. But here we are. Here we are. You and me and producer Stanton. And when the world is opening up, and I'm making you guys a priority, and I'm making showing up for this show just like I showed up for KFI. And I wasn't, I was getting shift pay for KFI. And I had a guaranteed outlet. I had X amount of people listening because it was KFI. And I was sponsored by, Auto Nation and at some point Valencia BMW. But you know what? This is about us. This is about us. The money will come or not. Because I don't do it for that. I do it because it's fun. It's fun seeing all your names pop up. It's fun getting to know you. It's fun having people message me. It's fun. Did we forget fun? Have we become so tedious, so materialistic, so attached to things that don't matter that we're so far afield from why we even started things? Being creative is supposed to be fun. Being funny is fun. And I'm grateful that I've never forgotten that. This is fun. Talking to you guys and having you respond is fun. And I always wonder why people don't stop. Oh, can't wait to see you in Hermosa. I feel the same, Debbie. I hope it opens soon. I actually got vaccinated because the comedy clubs were saying that in order to get on stage and the comedy store is open and it's sold out, they're not social distancing, but you have to, I don't even know if you have to wear a mask indoors, but in order to perform at both the Melrose Improv and the comedy store, you have to be fully vaccinated and have proof of vaccine, which I now have. I got the J&J last Friday. So technically I'm not totally in the clear until a week from yesterday, because they say it takes 2 weeks. But hey, I'm excited. I'm halfway home, and I still take precautions in my building and in public, et cetera, et cetera. So I got vaccinated, and I'm gonna reach out. Actually, I just saw Richard Twitchell's name. He lives in Seattle. One of my favorite comedy clubs is Comedy Underground in Seattle. I'm not sure if it's going to come back after COVID, but I know there's another club called Laughs, and they actually reached out to me after seeing a showcase set and saying, yeah, we like you. We'd love to have you. So let's see if that works out. So on the other side of this experience, am weighing and measuring things with a whole different set of weights and measures. What I'm going to get, wrapped around the axle about is going to be much less. When I look at news stories, and again, like I say, I pulled stories for us. You guys can look up about that big chunk of ice, because that is kind of incredible. It really, really is an incredible story. This was a great story. Mariska Hargitay. Now, those of you who don't know who that is, Mariska Hargitay is the star, and she is the daughter of Mickey Hargitay, uh, and her mother was a very, very famous beauty who was decapitated. Mariska was asleep in the back seat with her brother, and her mother was a very famous and beautiful actress whose sports car went under a truck. And I can't remember if the story is that she was wearing a scarf that got caught up in the axle of the truck, or if just going under the truck decapitated her. I'll remember her name in a moment, but she was like big, like Lana Turner big. And so Mariska Hargitay, who is the daughter of, basically Hollywood royalty, has been on Law and Order SVU for like 1 million years. Olivia Benson is the character's name. And she was actually on a show filmed in Miami in 1990, late 92, maybe early 93, called Grapevine. It only ran one season, and I was an extra in 1993 when Mariska Hargitay, like, there was not even any Law and Orders at all. Can you imagine? No Law and Order. She was super, super young, and she was the star of Grapevine, and she was very, very beautiful. And so she responded to the story of a little girl who used a tip she got from SVU to fight off a kidnapper. So this little girl was playing in a park, near her house, and this guy approached her and was trying to kidnap her. And having seen the show, she figured out that if she could mark the guy, that that they would find him easier. So she actually smeared blue slime that she was playing with on the guy, and he was caught later, not that much later, and it thwarted him that she fought back and slimed him. So she reached out to Mariska Hargitay and said, "Hey, by the way, I thwarted a kidnapper who was trying to get her, by smearing blue stuff on him." So I thought that was very cute that she responded. Mariska Hargitay said she was honored to have been part of a story where a little girl used her smarts to save herself. Oh yeah, that's her mother. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman. Beautiful. Yeah. In fact, you know what? I'm going to look up her name because now it's going to drive me crazy. Mariska Hargitay's mother. Don't you love that we can do that now? Like right here I am on the air saying, like, what was her name? And probably you guys already know. One of you is going to say, like, it was blah, blah, blah. But her mother was Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield, who was kind of a Marilyn Monroe type right around the time of Marilyn Monroe. There was like a little, Yeah, there's some very famous pictures of Jane Mansfield. She was kind of gorgeous, as a matter of fact. This is a very famous picture. I actually have this as a card. Somebody gave me this photograph because there's a very famous picture of Jane Mansfield. Look at the look of Sophia. Let me see if I can get this. Look at Sophia Loren's face looking at Jane Mansfield's chi-chis. I actually have that in a greeting card. It's a very, very famous photograph. Like, man, I thought I had a couple of double bubbles, but woohoo! She was quite the pinup girl. So, and then here's a really cool story. There was a story in USA Today that said any and all alcohol affects your brain. Duh. But I guess that's kind of one of those things where people go like, well, X amount of red wine is good for you. Well, it might be good for your circulation. But according to, and I'm going to get back to the story, any alcohol causes damage to the brain, study finds. So that's CNN. And maybe some of you are like, fake news, it's on CNN. I'm going to keep drinking. Okay, just saying. Then this one I really liked because I thought of producer Stanton. And it has a picture of Nikola Tesla in 1893. So Nikola Tesla, that's over 100 years ago. That's right about when I quit my day job, 100 years before. 1893, there's Nikola Tesla. And he invented an earthquake machine, by the way. I saw a movie where they kind of showed the earthquake machine. I think it was pretty legit. I think it was like sonic waves or something. But he created a valve, a macrofluidic valve, often just called the Tesla valve. It is sort of odd shaped conduit for fluids in which a main channel is interspersed, okay, with a series of diverting teardrop shaped loops. The loops are oriented in such a way that fluids flow easily one way, but when it is reversed, the flow is almost totally blocked. Can you imagine inventing something that just the shape of it can dictate how things flow? Like they can only go that way, but not that way. So it's a little bit like crossing the Rubicon, if you know anything about that. You can go this way, but not that way. So, and maybe he came up with it thinking about the Rubicon, just like maybe my brother thought of me while Ben Webster was playing Time After Time on 40s Junction. You just don't know these things. But 100 years later, the genius of the Tesla valve is being looked at, and people are saying, hey, we should revisit that valve and use it. It makes a lot of sense. And it's pretty, mechanically sound in that it doesn't have any moving parts. It's just the shape of the valve itself. It looks kind of like a giant teardrop. And then this one, there were a bunch of stories, but I really like this one. It's a Warren Buffett story. It's in Inc. magazine. And what he basically said was, oh, there's the Tesla valve. Very cool. Thank you, Producer Stanton. I can always count on Producer Stanton to just find everything. Right away found Jane Mansfield, but I had to have the name. And I had to have the famous Sophia Loren Chi-Chi picture. So Warren Buffett was saying, he calls it the newspaper test. I ask the managers to judge every action they take, not just by legal standards, though obviously that's the first test, but also by what I call the newspaper test, which is, if you have an article written by someone who's very smart but unfriendly, a reporter that's not on your side, and it appeared in a local newspaper about a decision or action you made, and your family, friends, and neighbors read it, how would you feel about it? Now, for me, the newspaper test could just as easily be called the Facebook test or the social media test or the Insta test. Because the reason why I say that is, how many times have I asked a friend after seeing a post, are you feeling okay? And they'll say, what do you mean? And I'll be like, that was a pretty solid rant you posted. And then they go, oh yeah, I was having a bad day. And I was like, you do realize everyone can read this. This isn't your journal. This isn't a private thing where just because you don't feel it anymore, it goes away. Like, people can go to your page and read that you were, on the rack. Like, are you sure you want that memorialized? It astounds me how completely desensitized people have become to, I don't even want to say putting their dirty laundry out there, just putting their innermost jagged feelings. I mean, look, I expected of me again. What's her name? Duchess of Sussex? Megan? I forget her last name. Harry's wife. Markle. That's her. Markle. I expect some people to constantly be talking about their inner landscape in public, because at the end of the day, that's just what they do. They're, narcissists. But for the most part, most people realize, remember when we were children in kindergarten and we learned our outdoor voice and our indoor voice? And remember in the early 2000s when comedians would regularly ask, did I say that out loud? Like, that was kind of like a punchline / tag if you said something really inappropriate, like, did I say that out loud? But it's not even about saying it out loud. It's about putting something in a public place that never, ever goes away. Cross your heart, bra lady. That's funny. It's about putting things where they never go away. I mean, you can delete the post, but we all know people take pictures, or even within your own family. You want people to be thinking like, oh my goodness, we better check on Chuck. He's really upset. And then they call and you're just like, yeah, no, I'm watching the game and having a beer. What? And you're like, I read your post. They're like, oh, well, I posted that 2 days ago. I was having a bad hour, minute, half a day, even a day. It's very interesting to me. I loved reading that article about Warren Buffett saying, you know, what would the newspaper say about you? And how would you feel about your friends and family and neighbors reading it about a decision you made? I got to tell you, lately, the decisions I've been making, woohoo! I wish somebody would write an article about them. I do. I think I'm on a roll. I think continuing to be committed to the groups of people in the communities that I have been lucky enough to either gather through my own means or, as luck would have it, being resubmitted to Amazon or having an auto-generated competing YouTube channel. Who cares? Who cares? I found you. You found me. We committed to each other. We're learning together as friends, you know, to quote Bob Seger, what to leave in, what to leave out as we go forward, because it's rapidly starting to go forward now. It's picking up speed. You know, the lobby of my building looks almost normal. There's signs up saying, unless you're fully vaccinated, continue to take all precautions. But it's just a matter of time. I see 50% of the people walking around my building without any masks, and I'm sure they would just say, I'm vaccinated. I'll wear my mask until next weekend. Because then supposedly my vaccine will have kicked in. And who knows, maybe in crowded spaces, I'll continue to wear it. It's a game time decision. Just like whether I end this show at 55 minutes in or 59 minutes in. It's a game time. It depends how it all feels. Right now, it's feeling pretty good. I'm excited knowing that, just so you know, I'm going to be talking to my website lady because I started building a website 14 months ago. Guess what? Hasn't been a priority. I wasn't going anywhere. There were no tour dates to post. There were no new photos with my fans. The nada. But I'm excited. So me and my friend Kathy Topping, that's her name. She's wonderful. She's also my Facebook friend. So Kathy and I are going to talk on Tuesday to finish my website. And today, my cruise ship guy said, looks like we might be taking some limited cruises around the Caribbean. And evidently there's some ships leaving for Alaska. I guess they feel like that's a pretty safe port, and it's America. So they don't have to have any special clearance to go to America. And probably, I know Royal Caribbean owns 2 private islands in the Caribbean, and we have the U.S. Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico. So little by little, there'll be stuff to post. Just on the local front, I will be in Colorado Springs, June 11th and 12th. I'll be in Boulder on the 13th. I'll give you guys more information when I have it. And I told you about I said I had 3 shows to share with you. So I did two shows with Carla Hall that were very, very fun, where I was just supposed to read the chatter, but I ended up being a full-on co-host, and that was really satisfying. And then I told you about the California Association of, I guess, Latino School, whatever, CALSA. And I'm going to do another event for them. And I'm also doing a live-to-tape stand-up show for the Salvation Army, June 16th, with a limited audience. So who knows, I might be able to invite a handful of people. Maybe producer Stanton will come with me and see what that's about. It should be a very nice, very fancy crowd. And I think their hors d'oeuvres will be very nice. They're going to be donated. And then I'm going to be in Houston, Texas on July 10th. And I'll figure out how to get you all of this information. I'm sure we'll post it here and on the website that I intend to complete. And it doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing, okay? It doesn't matter. I'm still going to be with you at 3:30, whatever time zone I'm in. And I like kind of shuffling it around. When I was in Miami, there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, you know, I kind of like you being on at 3:30 in Miami because then it's only 12:30 in LA, or, you know, whatever. And I'll do the live stream. And if I'm on stage at the time of the live stream, then we'll do a makeup show on Monday, or just like in Miami. If I did a show on Sunday, we'll do a makeup on Sunday. And if Sunday doesn't work, we'll do Monday. But I'm committed to this because it's fun. and it means a lot to me. And it reminds me when I say to you what really matters, which is what we've created here between us. This is my work of art. This is what I do. I tell you things that are on my mind, which is the micro, so you can think of the world as a macro, so you can think of your own side hustles or your own value or what's a better use of your time, whether it's fighting over money or property or history or things that just don't matter anymore. Or, I love this one. It's the principle of the matter. Does anybody even know what that means when they're fighting over it? Do we really, really know what it means when we say it's the principle of the matter? I don't even think that's a legitimate reason to fight. Now, if you say there's a legitimate reason to fight because this represents or this means over this line you shall not cross, I understand that. I do. But just because, or when people say, let me play devil's advocate, I always say, you don't need to. The devil advocates very well for himself. He doesn't need advocates. I need a support, and he does not need an advocate. One thing I will be doing on the other side of COVID is being extremely specific with my language, which I already thought I was. But I'm doubling down on the directness because I don't want to waste any time that can be used writing better jokes and planning more places to perform live and saying things here that I think will be of value to you. I'm absolutely delighted beyond measure how much I interact with. So many of you send me private messages and I do my level best to respond. And it means so much to me. Thank you, Liz. Liz is telling everybody to hit the like button on your way out. It's so funny. She's treating it like a comedy club. Okay, so I hope producer Stanton has it queued up, because here's what's really a killer when you talk about intention and power. So of all of the things I've said on these 52 almost hour long, so it's 52 hours, or even if you count the half ones, to 50 hours, and my old podcast and my stand-up, I had a wonderful young man who's in school ask if he could animate me and make me into an alien. And I said yes. And it was the very topic that I've had on my mind. What are the chances that he chose? So I hope it's queued up, and I'm going to say my goodbyes now and listen to what I'm saying. All right. So until tomorrow at 3:30 or next Saturday, which I will be home over the holiday weekend with you guys. It's Memorial Day weekend. Last year, producer Stanton and I went down to Disney and shot all the locked and empty gates. At some point, we're going to share all that footage with you that we went out and shot, because, boy, last Memorial Day weekend was sad, pitiful, sad. The opposite of this one. So until next Saturday night, love hard. Love you too, Tina, to pieces. Love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can. And now producer Stanton will show you the alien me. So yeah, did I take the grandfather clause out? Absolutely not. But did I shift on how I felt about it? I'm going to tell you a little something about the truth. It's nobody's business. Your truth is between you and whatever you believe. If you believe in God or don't believe in God or the universe or a benevolent force, it's not between you and your spouse, you and your kids, you and your bestie, unless you choose it to be.